Hello everybody, and welcome to the live stream today. I think, if I remember right, in last week's stream, I was working on the first session of this painting. Hello Treasure, nice to see you. Is that right? I think, anyone who was here last week, you can let me know if I was working on the first session of this painting last week. I can't actually remember, but I think I was. And I was just kind of doing a wipeout, kind of a drawing stage of it. Since then, I've done one session where I started to rough out the colour, what I wanted to happen with the colour. Hi, Tasha. Hello, John. Nice to see you. And so, which I didn't film, unfortunately. I can't actually remember if this might be the first time I've filmed any of this. I can't done any of this one live. I can't remember. Oh no, last week I was painting the flowers, wasn't I? I'm letting that one dry before I do any more. So this is session 3 on this painting. So I started off with a wipeout. I think I shared a photo of the wipeout on my Facebook feed. And so it started off. Let's see if there's an example I can show you of one. No, I don't know. I've got one around somewhere. I don't know where it is. Basically, it's all done with just in value only. And you completely cover the panel with a single value, middle value, and then you wipe out the lights and then paint in the dark. So it gives you a kind of a. Oh, here's one. Here's one that also has a second session on it with some glazing. Doesn't really help, I suppose, because you can't really see the wipeout stage. Must have one around here somewhere. Oh yeah. Here's a wipeout start done in the same way as this one was done. From a workshop, actually, that one. So you can see, basically, you're just dealing with light shapes and shadow shapes and edges. Hi, Fran. Hello, Kathy. Last week was the wipeout, was it? The day after the roses. Oh, did I go live twice? I can't even remember when I've been live anymore. This is how much I'm losing my grip. But not to worry. So at the moment, I'm just darkening this area over here because I want there to be a light drop off from over here to over here, because that's how light naturally works. So the light is coming from the left. There's a shaft of light on the background, so it's going to be higher value over here and lower value over here with a bit of light drop off. So I'm trying to get that in here at the moment, whilst putting in lots of texture, which is why I'm rolling the brush and then soften it a little bit without taking out all of the brush strokes. So the texture is still there, but it's not shouting at you. So it should probably be pretty obvious to you that this looks slightly different from the photo. Well, you could say very different. Welcome to everybody who's just joined. Karen says, beautiful lost edge on the end. Thank you. Lost edges are my thing. You could say. Is it working on Facebook? It doesn't look like anybody's popped in a comment on Facebook. If indeed it is working on Facebook, do please let me know if you can see it and if we're running. If you're watching. What was that? That sounded like a kitten wanting in. You coming in then? Well, I'm not coming out. I'm painting. Come on in. Yeah, come in. Come on, take your time, that's fine. A little stretch. I think what it is, he sleeps most of the time, Studio Cat now, old Banjo, because he is extremely old. And I think what it is he hears me talking and he thinks, oh, I'll pop in. Wakes him up and he thinks, oh, I'll pop in and see him. So the colour in this has been, I've kind of been working it out as I go. So you can see the first thing probably to say that should be fairly obvious is that the values are different. So overall, my painting is lighter than the reference photo. I should also point out that the majority of this painting has been done from life because I have the setup here. Now the light is going, there's not enough light for me to paint by normal light now, by daylight. So I have to switch on the studio light. So I've switched on the studio light, so I've got the reference photo to guide me, because the studio lights change the shadow pattern on the subject too much for me to continue painting from light after it starts to get dark. I think I want this to go darker over here. So the palette has got a little bit messy now, but it started off incredibly neat, as my palettes often do. I set out a load of colours that I'm thinking about using, and then gradually I mix from one to the other and across the little piles of colour, and it all kind of starts to get a little bit chaotic. But I know that the order is still there, and which part of the palette is representing which part of the painting. Let me tell you a little bit about the colour. So, yeah, the first thing is the values. Why have I decided, I was talking about the values, why have I decided to do it this way? Because I want a kind of softness, which is why everything that I'm painting on this one has been softened to a fairly extreme degree, you could say. And the closer values, I think, give a kind of a gentleness to it as well. So that's a big part of why it looks the way it looks. Hello, Marianne. Thank you for leaving me a comment on Facebook. Now I know it's working there too. Hi, Sean. Hello, Martin. Good to see you too. Hi, Sharon. Oh, we had a bit of a mess on yesterday, didn't we? With the live critique session in the school, in the online school. Sharon, it did work. Some people did join on mobile, so I'm not sure what the problem was. But you can join on mobile. So I'm experimenting a little bit with the value. So I haven't used my lowest value yet, nowhere near. I'm not using the full value range because I wanted this kind of lightness and shimmer. The deepest, lowest value I've got at the moment is here, and I can go lower than that. And the reason I've got the lowest value here is because the highest value is here too. So this kind of brings a little bit of focus in here. I'll probably start working on this area in a little bit. But I've also, I've changed the color quite a bit. So let me try and explain something about the color. You know what, I'm going to switch to just to show you, I'm going to switch to the palette. Just to show you what's going on here. And I'm going to cut out the, I'm going to take off the reference photo as well. Do I need to do that? Yeah, so you should be able to see all the palette now. Maybe a little bit out of focus. I'll try and focus this camera a bit. Set up in a bit of a hurry today. I thought, oh, it's Wednesday, I should be streaming. So although this has got a little bit messed up, you can see here, this is a value 5 and this is a value 3, okay? So that's slightly, they're very low chroma, chroma 2. Show you what I mean by chroma 2. Here is a page from the Munsell book of oranges. This is chroma is the intensity of the color from close to gray to very intense. This strip here is chroma 2. So I don't have anything mixed on the palette that's above chroma 2. So I haven't gone, apart from in a couple of little places, on this painting I haven't gone over chroma 2, okay? Some of it is even chroma 1. So this is chroma 1. This is slightly reddish color, chroma 2, middle value and a lower value. Slightly yellow color, very close to neutral. This was originally, although it's mostly disappeared now, the same hue as this one here. Same value, but slightly higher chroma, chroma 2. And then I've got these blue-green, value 5 and value 3, also chroma 2. I'll tidy this up a little bit, and some other kind of random colors that I've been mixing as I went along. This one up here is a lighter version of this, so this is like a value 7, and this is just some shadow colors I've been mixing. So I'm pretty much doing a mixture of glazing and painting opaquely today. So this is, all of this top half has been covered with a second layer of oil. Well, I'm gesturing at a painting you can't see. So these colors have been mixed really closely to match these Munsell chips here. And what that has meant is that what I've ended up with in my painting is this, which has, it's all really, really low chroma. The colors are kind of, how can I describe it? They bleed across from the background into the, onto the surface of the jug and even into the squashes a little bit. So the effect I'm trying to find with the color is like a kind of a shimmer of light that the forms are disappearing into a little bit. So I gradually brought down the values here. This was too high a value, I realized, when I started painting, and these weren't standing out. So I brought the value of this down today and repainted this area. I can show you a close-up of that actually, in case you're interested. And even if you're not, I will anyway. So you can see a little bit more the detail of how it's been painted. So you can see like all of these colors, the green and the red and blue, they're all the same color across the background and over here. And everything is very soft apart from a couple of little areas, especially the highlight here where it's more textured. You know, and this has all been softened as well. So I don't have any hard edges in the painting yet, although I can introduce some now if I want to. Thank you, Diane. Hello, Lee, good to see you. Oh, and I missed a live session. Don't worry. It has been posted in the school community. So you can see it there. This is in case anyone doesn't know what we're on about. This is the online art school I'm running. I've just recently set up, and it's developing bit by bit. And yesterday we had a live critique session, which was lots of fun. And amazingly, it worked. It was the first time we'd done a live session in the school. So I'm thinking now I want to bring down some of the value here in order to show this plane change a bit more clearly, because I want this, this, and this, and this to appear to be of a reasonably close value, which means that this wants to belong really more to these shadows here. Now those shadows are, if I was following the photo, they would be like right down the bottom of the value range, but they're not. They're actually, let's have a look. They're about a value 3, 3.5. So what I've done is, I'm working with very low chroma, but I've added more color than is actually there. And I've also compressed the values. That's why it looks different from the reference photo. And also reference photos, for some reason I use OBS for streaming, and when I bring them in, the photos in, they always look a little bit bleached out. I'm not sure why that is. Have I just been talking without? No, we're all right. I am showing the painting now. So this painting. You want out now? I know, little man. It's a bit rubbish, isn't it? For you one. This is very much a working it out as I go deal. This one. So. You know, it's not like I can say there was a definite process here. I'm sort of probably evolving the process that I used to work a little bit and changing it a little bit. But I'm kind of figuring it out on the fly. And trying to get some areas finished so I won't have to go back into them again. So over here where we've got the light, I'm using a preponderance of going towards the blue-green, more of the blue-green and more lower chroma. A lot of it is still chroma 2. And then here in the shadows, I've gone more towards the yellows and the reds. So it's kind of giving the kind of, although the color isn't accurate, it's accurate in concept, if not accurate in the literal sense, if you know what I mean. So you will generally find that colors will go on indoor natural light, which is what I'm generally painting by. You will have that cool lights, warm shadows thing if you have north light. So I'm allowing the edge of the urn here to disappear into the background pretty much. Yes, thanks, Kathy. Yeah, I shoot all my own reference photos, and I generally use them as a backup for when I can't be painting from life. And I would strongly suggest, I think everybody should shoot their own reference and get a decent DSLR camera, or what I've got, which is a mirrorless camera, so Panasonic GH5, and learn enough about the exposure triangle and how to use them to be able to make your own photos, because a lot of us do paint from photos, and it's a part of the setup, and what you choose to paint, how you put it together, is a really important part of the aesthetics, and it's part of your voice and what you choose to paint. I think it's really important to shoot your own reference and to learn how to do it well. I think it can make or break a painting for sure, and just learning how to do that can bring your work on. If you work primarily from photos, can bring your work on a lot. And I would also recommend, if you can, I would recommend doing some work from life, but also definitely shoot the photo reference in natural light. If you're doing still life, or in fact, if you're doing portraits. If you're doing landscape, obviously it's a different deal. It's a different thing entirely. Okay, so don't have any oil on here yet, so I'm going to put some oil on here. I've just been reading, actually, for a long time, I've been using a mix of linseed oil with a small amount of solvent. I was using pure gum turpentine as my oiling out medium, and I've been doing a little bit more research about that in painting best practices with George O'Hanlon, who is very knowledgeable about these things. And I've been doing some more research about trying to avoid sinking in. And eliminating solvents apparently can help reduce sinking in. Sinking in is when you paint in multiple layers, and if anyone who's, you only need to have it happen to you once and you know what it is. It happens, you know, when you paint in layers and the oil from the upper layer gets kind of pulled back into the layer beneath, or layers beneath, and the upper layer kind of becomes, the value changes, it goes lighter, the chroma drops, and it kind of looks washed out, and it's difficult to see the value balance of your painting. But I also oil out because I like the experience of painting pretty much wet into wet as much as possible. Let's try. I only mixed a small amount of this colour, and I think probably I want a lot more than that. So I'm not sure what value I want down here yet, but I know I want it to belong compositionally more to these areas, and these are value 3. So I'm always thinking about everything in terms of value scale. It doesn't matter, I don't think what value scale you use. This is a Munsell value scale. I use it for teaching, and it's really useful for teaching because if everybody I'm teaching has one of these, and I only teach online now, then I can say value 3 and you can mix that and you know exactly the value that I'm talking about. So it's really useful from that point of view. Let's mix some more of this. And that was actually a lot of the impetus in the first place for Alfred Munsell creating the Munsell system, so that even if you didn't have a colour swatch, you couldn't get a colour swatch to someone, you could communicate basically across the world with no misunderstanding about what colour you were talking about. You wouldn't be using vague terms like fuchsia or Venetian red or whatever. You know, it's happened to me so often that students are trying to mix a colour and they'll say, right, what, you know, I'm using cadmium this or that. You know, quite often it will be like cadmium yellow from Winsor and Newton, which is really orange. And they'll struggle to mix it. So a cadmium yellow from different paint manufacturers can be a very different colour. But if I say to you, in Munsell terms, 5Y, which is, that's the hue, and then I tell you the value is 8, and the chroma is 10, you can mix that exactly. Let's see what happens with this. So this is like out of value 4. No, that's not any lower than what I've already got. It's higher chroma though, and I don't want that much chroma, so let's just throw a load of raw umber into it, which is it's gonna shift it slightly towards a yellow orange. I don't mind that so much. It's gonna drop the value and it's gonna drop the chroma at the same time. So I want to go, I'm kind of painting relationally, is that a word? Lower, lower, lower. Because I'm not painting literal values, I'm attempting to manipulate the values, but just for an aesthetic effect, you know. I'm doing most of it by, well, some of it by eye. That's good. But now it seems there's more of a plane change between here and here. And I'm also very keen not to be, you know what, I'm going to knock that chroma right down. I'm very keen not to be trying to paint this area so it looks finished, you know. I want it to be vague. And then I want it to gradually come to more of a point here, this area. I should tell you as well, I do have a course on my course platform, my course website, to do with shooting reference photos, which is pretty in-depth, about camera color correction and camera settings, setting up the light, artificial light to use if you can't use natural light. So at the moment, this is just raw umber and white. I'm bringing it up to about the same value. So this would be like, what is this value now? It's probably about a 3. I don't even know. Looks like about a 3 to me, which would bring it closer to this area, which is what I want compositionally speaking, because I want these shapes to mirror these ones. Yeah, I like that with lower chroma. So I don't want the, I mean, it really is aesthetic choice, but I don't want the cloth here to be kind of taking the limelight. Not yet, anyway. Might work into it more at some stage, but not at the moment. Go lighter here. So some of the color that I'm mixing, I generally paint like this. Like I'll start with like an anchor kind of range of colors that are a bit more carefully worked out, and then I'll do a fair bit by eye. I don't teach color this way because I don't think it's the best way to teach it, because teaching and painting are different things. It's a word now, Diane says. Hello, it's very nice to see you. I really just wanted to get that colour in there and see what happened. Bring the value down. I don't want to bring it down any further than that. I think it might be getting a little bit low, actually. I don't really want it to become a thing. And I think I may have been a little bit perhaps unadventurous with the hues. I probably could have got away with a lot more with the hues if I'd wanted to. And I wonder if I might at a later stage, still keeping the chroma very low, at a later stage I might decide to become a bit more adventurous, because if there's a, so I've already got a kind of a variation of hue going on. All with the same chroma and the same, you know, with controlled values. And this is one of the things that Munsell is really good at. I've got some glare on there. And because I'm painting into oil, I can soften this edge without having any paint on this top plane there. Time for a bit of standing back. need those anymore. I do need some space. Oh, I remember I did do the Wipeout live because the drawing of this little squash here, it became tilted a little bit that way. And it actually has almost exactly the same axis as the as this squash here, but I'm quite glad that it changed a little bit. Although I seem to have, this one seems to have pulled back, so I need to, because I want them to be slightly different now, slightly different axes. So I'm trying to decide now whether to go in here or in here, and I'm also wondering what's going to happen when I put those leaves in. And I'm kind of curious about how I'm going to handle that, so I might just put one in and see what happens. See how they're gonna sit in the composition. I don't know yet. Thank you, Roberta. Yeah, it's very much a kind of a low chroma atmosphere type painting I'm looking for with this. But there's this leaf here I'm really interested in because it has it's quite dark, but it has quite a lot of chroma in that red. And I just wonder what that little accent of high chroma orange red there is going to be like. Ooh, bright. It's going to really stand out. And suddenly that's come like outside the well outside the range of chroma of anything else on the painting at the moment. And you can see how it really, even though it's such a low value, it really stands out. Well, that's interesting. Let's soften that back and see. That is interesting. I'm going to let that sit there for a little while. I think I'm going to have a look at my squashes. Ooh, nice. Diane says it's glowing and warm and softly vibrating. Well, that's very nice. If that's the effect that's coming out of it, then I'm very happy. But it's not, the colour's not literal. I should say that the colour is actually closer to the actual subject as well, though. Thank you, David. Hello, Pedro. You got your monster chips? Yeah. Thank you. That's a very nice thing to say. Yeah, I like that sudden little shock of dark red here. We'll maybe be doing a bit more of that, and I wonder what I'm going to want for the green of the squash behind it, because that would be interesting to have in there as well. It's a bluish green, very low chroma, but it's not quite the green that it is in the photo. It's slightly more towards yellow. I think the photo, I messed about with the photo a little bit and then kind of made it a little bit cooler overall, the light. And I think when I was painting, I changed my mind and decided to push the painting a little bit warmer instead. I think it's probably fair to say. Just thinking about this squash. I'm actually going to check the local color of the squash just to be sure that I've got it right. So this is the right chroma and the right value, but it's too blue, and that's green yellow. So the value is 6 and the chroma is 2. Everything is such low chroma. 10 green yellow. So if I know the local colour, this is, I'll show you something in a minute actually. No, that one is still too blue. But then I wonder if it going a little bit more blue might be interesting. I'm thinking about this squash back here, which is kind of, I'd like to do that one now because I can handle the edges while that's all wet. That's actually pretty close to the local colour. 5GY. So you've got this one in the student book actually. The value is 6 and the chroma is 2. So in simplified terms, I do have some of these out actually. That's 6, that's 7, but the chroma is 4. You can see the chroma is much higher, it's too high. I've got so many monster chips just floating around the studio, I should really try and be more careful. That's the value 7, so that's like the next value up, which would be good for some light bits. And the shadow area, I probably want to be down to like a 4, and then I can mix between that one and get close. See if I can find it. 4, 2. So I do this a lot. I mean, some people I know mix quite complicated strings. I tend to do very simple ones. So I've got a low color, light, and a shadow. And then the rest I'll just kind of figure out as I go along. I need to junk my white though, because I've got red in it. The white I'm using is Rublev lead white, which I love to bits. Oh, I didn't do my usual explanation of what I'm doing on these streams. So for anyone who hasn't been here before, though I'm sure most of you have, what happens on these live streams is I'm not really demonstrating, and I'm certainly not teaching what I'm doing. It's just painting, and I'm doing it live and talking a little bit and having chats with people about what's going on whilst I'm doing it. So let's mix the local first. Not going to need that much. I'm going to scrub this in like quite lightly, quite roughly, because optically it's pushed back into shadow. So that's white. I'm going to put some green gold in it. That's going to be a little bit too yellow, so I'm going to put a bit of black in it. Let's see where this gets us. I want it to be about a value 6. Too much chroma. The value is not too bad. And it's too yellow, so if I bring some black, which is ivory black, it's basically a blue. Bring it up to the same value with white, that will give me a low chroma blue. So if I mix the two together, I'll drop the chroma and I'll go more blue at the same time. I'm going to put a little bit of phthalo green in because the chroma's dropped too far and I don't want it to go any more yellow. That's nice. That'll do pretty nice. Lighter version. Now I don't usually just stick white in there because it will probably drop the chroma too much. So I will mix it separately. Because what happened, I was thinking about this today actually. I remembered this thing that the Golden Age illustrators used to talk about a lot. People like Loomis would talk about too much the bump, meaning a bump in chroma, meaning a high chroma area just in the halftone before the light hits the shadow. And I must tell you, in years of painting spheres and cubes of different locals and and actual objects in the real world as well, I have never seen a bump. I think it's one of those painter's myths like the golden section. So shadow. Let's get this out of the way. Hello, Alan. No, there shouldn't be an echo. It might be that you've got it on two devices at once if there's an echo. Sometimes if you've got two devices at the same time, both watching the stream, then you will get a bit of an echo. Yeah. Nice to see you, though. Thanks for popping in. Do let me know if everything is all right with access to the courses now. I think you're hopefully sorted now. Hello, Diana. Diana says, I have a hard time with gradients. Oh, you mean like going from light to shadow? Yeah, yeah. Been practicing those a lot lately just in grayscale. An excellent place to start, Diana, I think. Yeah, this, if you mean the chart, if you mean this Munsell scale, yeah, that's a great idea. Practice with that. So what you can do is you can mix, say, the 3, the 5, and the 7, and then mix between them so that you get the 4 and the 6, and then try and paint a continuous stripe of value that changes from 3 to 7, and just keep trying it until you can do it, you know. That'll really help you. That's going to be too yellow. Bit black in there to drop the chroma, and then we'll add the white. Oh, much too yellow. And the chroma is too high. Some black. Some phthalo green. Some white. Just dropping the chroma, keeping the value the same, pushing the color towards blue in here. Yeah, that'll do. It's a little bit yellow, but that's fine. I don't mind. Greens often, when they go from light into shadow, they in this kind of lighting situation, natural light, they often go a little bit more towards the yellow-green anyway as they go into the shadow. Let's get some fresh brushes out for this, nice rough ones. I don't want to be too particular about it. Do you want to see this close up? Shall I put a glow, what am I talking about? Close up. There's a really excellent article on the golden section written by Anthony Y. Tulis. If you look up Anthony Y. Tulis, and if you have trouble spelling his name, just try Annie, A-N-I, Art Academies, and then golden section in a search on Google, and you will find a really good article debunking the myth. And for anyone who is really finds it difficult to let go of that, by all means carry on using it. You know, it's not going to hurt your paintings. It's just not going to make them any better either. This is wrong. I've got too much chroma here. I've just noticed that. I don't like that. It's a bit too dark and there's too much chroma. So I've actually been intending to experiment with hues a little more and with chroma a little more for some time, and values at the same time, actually, to be fair. And this is the beginnings of the results of it. I think it's probably will eventually move quite a long way, further away, even further away than further away from natural color. But I mean, like exact natural color, but I still very much want to keep a strong sense of realism in it. So it's, you know, form modeling, edges, and all of that still needs to be taken into account as well, but whilst giving myself a little bit more leeway with the color. If the image is very pixelated, I'm sending it in good quality. So you could try, if you're watching on, what are you watching on? Facebook. Oh, I'm not sure why then. I mean, Facebook only allows you to stream at 720p anyway, so I'm streaming at 1080. So basically it means Facebook drops the quality a little bit. But it's probably more likely down to your internet connection. You could try refreshing the page, you might sort it out. Joanne says, would you tell us what colour you have on your palette? Absolutely, I will. Although I should add a caveat that it's not so much the colours that I've got on here, but the colours that I'm mixing with them that matters, right? I'll move this up a little bit because you can't see the bottom ones. I may have to, oh, I can't move it because I've stuck it down. Never mind. A couple I'll just have to tell you what they are, even though they're not on the camera. Unless I can move the camera, no I can't. So I've got lead white here. This is Rublev lead white number 2, which is in walnut oil, but I only got that because I couldn't get the linseed oil. I don't personally think it makes a huge amount of difference. Yellow ochre. You'll see I've got them arranged pretty much in value. This is, my red is quinacridone rose, a very blue red. And then these two colours are quite important to the way I paint, personally, and the way I use colour. This is transparent red oxide, and this is green gold. And they're both very transparent, they're low value, and they're high chroma. One on the orange side, red orange, and one on the yellow green side. So that gives me quite a lot of flexibility of higher chroma colours in the shadows. So I use those a lot in mixes. This colour is raw umber, which is probably the one I use more than anything else. And then I've got ivory black and I've got a phthalo green. This is Winsor & Newton Windsor green. But you could mix the same colours that I'm using here, because they're all low chroma colours. You could mix the same colours with a different set of tube paints. I can't decide if this red is stealing the show from over here too much or not. I kind of like it though. I like the way this red is sitting against the blue. But the reason I wanted to do this green here is I wanted to see it. I wanted to see that red against that blue green of that squash behind it, just to see kind of how it looks. So I'm just going to pretty much scrub this in. Just thinking really in terms of light and shadow. Diana says that's the balance, isn't it, between realism and impressionistic. I suppose you need to know the rules to break them. It certainly helps if you, yeah, I mean, to an extent, I think it really helps to understand how colour works in the real world, by which I mean what happens to a local colour when it moves from light to shadow. You know, it's really a useful thing to understand that, because then you can actually change the colours as long as you keep to those principles. That's the word I'm looking for how the colour behaves. It gives you more, you know, I think personally a deeper understanding of colour gives you more expressive possibilities, because whilst keeping the realism of the piece, you can change, you can mess with everything. You can mess with the chromas, the value, the hue, you know, as much as you like, really. This is maybe is too subtle. chroma is too low. I mean, it's pretty accurate, but I was interested in the relationship between this yellow and this green, sorry, and the red of that leaf. To be fair, it's more obvious in the painting than it is on the screen for some reason. Completely forgotten what I was doing. Oh yeah, I was going to zoom it in. Switch cameras so you can see the closest version. You can see how rough I'm painting this. The painting tube says, "Hi Paul, the last time we spoke you just moved to a village. How are things working out?" Things are working out really well. Actually, the countryside is wonderful and I wish I'd done it years ago. Thank you. I probably know you by an actual name though, don't I? And not as the painting tube. Is that your YouTube channel? You must tell me. Yeah, so we moved out here about 5 years ago. Long story, actually. I've been trying for, well, I was working in, I mean, we adopted 2 kids like a long time ago now, a few years ago now, and they're absolutely my reason for living beyond anything else. If anyone is ever considering that, just stop thinking about it and do it. You will never be ready, but it will be the best thing you would ever do with your life. And shortly after that, at the time, I thought I should get a proper job, you know. I'd been kind of earning a bit of a living now and again doing some bits of painting and stuff, and the first ever online community that I ran, which was called Creative Triggers, which was a lot of fun, actually. Don't know if anybody remembers that. That was quite a long time ago now. And then I thought I'd better get a proper job. And I also, I have a background in digital marketing, so I did that. Digital marketing. I was an SEO, which means search engine optimizer, which means it was my job to make websites appear in Google results for particular searches that people would do. And then it all went horribly wrong. I mean, I hated it. I hated the place I was working. I hated the job. I mean, really hated it. And in the end, I think because I never really fitted into that corporate world very well at all, really, they made me redundant. There was a big wave of redundancies like these companies do every now and again when they need to balance the books. So they made me redundant, and I need some purple here. And then shortly after that, I got a bit of a payout so I could survive for a little while. And then shortly after that, I became sick. It was basically life-threatening, but it came through all right. It's not a life-threatening disease. I've still got it now, but if it's not diagnosed, because it's rare, it often doesn't get diagnosed, then it can be pretty bad. And then, so I couldn't work for a long time. We lost our house. I had to sell the house. Lived on the money for a while in our house, and so we had the money from the house, and Michelle, my wife, said to me, "We should move out this area right here, Gloucestershire Stroud. There's loads of artists there because she's creative as well. And it would be a great place to bring up the kids. So we did. We moved out here and it was the best decision we ever made. And then gradually I've been doing more stuff online whilst we've been out here, bit by bit. Till you see me doing what I'm doing now. So when, just before COVID hit, actually, this was, I bought some 3 cameras and a switch, which is kind of like an audio mixer, but for cameras, which is how I can live stream like this. And I started streaming live, mostly just so people would have something to look forward to, because everybody was stuck at home, you know. And those streams became quite popular. And then for a while I stopped. I just got too tired. I mean, it was getting really tiring. I was doing it every day and it was too much. But now, as you can see, I'm back doing it again. And the countryside out here is just amazingly beautiful, gobsmackingly beautiful. Autumn at the moment, you know, is just lovely. Gloucestershire is really gorgeous. I'm having to make sure I don't drop these values too much because I don't want them to drop any lower than what I have here. Let's try a little bit of lower value just in that corner there and see what happens. Just in here against that red. Yeah, so thanks for asking. Things have worked out really well. It's an amazingly beautiful place, and we have really good friends here too. So the reflected light here on this squash here, which as you can doubtless see, I'm painting very roughly, but hopefully with a sense of form, to get it to appear to be kind of appearing out of the shadow. The reflected light here is bouncing off this cloth. And this cloth is actually, it looks white, but it's actually purple. It's a very light bluish purple. So I've mixed a little bit of a light bluish purple here, and I'm introducing that, mixed with a little bit of the green of the local colour. I'm introducing that as the reflected light down here. I'm going to push the chroma a little bit of that there, let's just push it a little bit, be a bit cheeky and see what happens. Because that purple just looks so nice against that green. Just because. Except I've let the value get too high now, which is really easily done. That's so wrong. It's just much too high value. And there's too much difference in values here, so everything needs to be, if I just blend it a little bit, it will start to disappear out into the shadows more. I'm going to bring the shadow down a little. In value. So I'm picking up some of the colours that I've used for the shadow now, this area. Paint them into the squash so it all starts to disappear a little bit further back. Constantly softening everything. So this is like, actually I need to drop that one and get another one. This is a dry brush. It's Winsor & Newton's Scepter Gold. And this is the series 606. I think they call it long stroke now, but it's just a flat. It's just a synthetic flat. I do like to make up flashy names for this stuff. There's another leaf. Darker. I'm just kind of putting these leaves in as marks at the moment, and then I'm just going to let them sit and see. It's time to stand back and look and see what I think about the where the squash is sitting in the painting. It's all right. I think I might have let the value of the lights come up a little bit too high. Debbie, what a wonderful thing to say. Thank you. Marion says, thank you for sharing your inspiring life story. I don't know if just the stuff happens to you and you just have to deal with it. You know what I mean? Well, it's like, I don't know. It was horrendous at the time. But it's amazing what you can get through if you don't have a choice. And if you've got people, especially little ones, depending on you, you know, it's amazing what you can pull yourself through. I'm kind of liking where these leaves are sitting. I'm letting them step out of their surroundings a little bit. Not really painting them as leaves at the moment, just as little notes. But if I bring, you see, the thing is, if I make those stronger, then I really think I need to do something about the shadows under here to really bring this area out more. And if I do that, then that's going to have an effect on the shadow values of these. So I may be allowing enthusiasm to run away with me a bit too much with those leaves. It's one of those situations, like I'll paint them, soften them, and then leave them for a couple of days and see what I think about them and adjust them later if I feel the need. Let me just try something with the light part of that squash there. Running out of room. I'm just going to try and bring the focus back because they're pulling the focus over here, maybe a little bit too much. Maybe too much. I need a bit of yellow on the palette. Cadmium yellow lemon. Just a touch. Yeah, those live streams that I was doing in COVID, they were a kind of a lifeline for me as well. Now I'm an introvert, you know, and I do like my own company, and I'm on my own a lot of the time. I find I get exhausted when I'm around people too much, frankly. But you know, I remember one of those memes that was going around on Facebook at the time of a picture of an artist, and it's working at an easel, and it said artist before COVID. And then there was another picture next to it that said artist during lockdown, and it was the same picture, just artist working at their easel. And then another one that said artist after COVID, and of course it was the same picture. In a sense. So I'm just sharpening up the value and sharpening the edge there to see what happens to the focus. Little things can make such a big difference. They really can. You know. Yeah, so that I think that's all right. I'm having to bring these up to compete really with the let's try some green with the leaves, and then the urn is becoming more a background thing. I had a good time painting that urn though. Oh yeah, it would be. Would be a lovely place to paint landscapes. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm not keeping up very well with the. I never do, to be honest, with the comments. Peter, I do remember. Yeah, I do remember. Wow, it has been a while. I'll check out your channel. Um, Peter says, "What camera are you using?" Well, I've actually got three that I'm using today. So the main camera, this one here, this shot is it's a Black Magic micro cine camera or something they call it. It's just a video camera, but it's a very small little video camera. Really, really useful. And it means that I can control the focus and if I had the right kind of lens, even the zoom from my laptop, which I have beside me while I'm streaming. So, you know, really, really handy from that point of view. And I can also control the exposure from the laptop whilst I'm live as well. Great. I want to get another one with a better zoom lens on it so I can zoom right in. It would be really handy. And then this shot here, this camera, I'll show you. This is a Sony GH5. Actually, would make more sense to be closer on this image at the moment. So Panasonic GH5. Fantastic camera. Also does video really well. And then this one that I've got on the palette is another Blackmagic micro, whatever they call them, micro cine studio camera or something. I can't remember what they call it. Just a video camera anyway. You can't take stills with it or anything like that, and you need to hook it up to a switch in order to control it. But they're great. They're great little cameras. Not the only downside with them is their light response isn't very good. So if it starts to get dark, oh my god! Look what I did to that color. I was trying to mix a low chrome with green, and I just whacked a load of phthalo green in. Yeah, so the light response isn't very good in low lighting situations, as I found out to my cost when I tried to use them to stream live a lot during COVID, actually, under natural light, which is how I usually like to paint, which is why I'm halfway through a session on this, because I started painting this session today under natural light and actually from life, from the subject. You know, now we're into the evening, the light has gone, so I'm using the photo to help me, and I've got lights, LEDs. So I just wanted a bit of that so I can try. So what I think a lot of the painting that I like the best is a kind of painting that where the color and everything is so good that you don't need to paint much detail to have something feel alive. A lot of the time, that's what I'm going for. So at the moment, I'm just trying to bring in some harder edges here and slightly higher value in the lights to see if that pulls the focus over a little bit. So let's zoom back out again and have a look. So you can see this is, I mean, with the close-up view, you can see it's all painted really roughly. You know, there's no detail, nothing is really finished. I'm just still trying out focus and composition, and I think it's getting to a really nice point. The squashes are standing out really well now. The urn, as much as I love it, it is necessary for it to be pushed back a little bit. I'm loving this squash here against these leaf shapes. I think that's working really nice. And I'm also glad that I brought this down. So we've got, around this area, we've got more extremes of light and shadow, hard edges, and more chroma. And I think I'm quite happy about where that's going. Phyllis, I'm just reading your comment. What a lovely thing to say. Phyllis, if you have my email address, you can also get it by subscribing on my website to my email list. Drop me an email and we'll sort something out, because it bothers me if finances ever hold people back from learning. So, you know, I'll be more than happy to help you out with that. I do have what I kind of, I sort of refer to as myself, for myself, as kind of, you might think of as like an informal scholarship program. Just, you know, just to help out anyone who really wants to learn, but is for one reason or another, as many of us often do. This has certainly happened to me, be in a situation where it's difficult from a financial point of view. That just drop me a line and get in touch and we'll sort something out. Have I pushed the values too much there? I don't know. I think probably not. But I also think that I'm going to need to leave it for a little bit and think about it. That's funny, Debbie. Debbie says, I was a plein air painter who couldn't get out, so I found your still lifes inspirational. Thank you. Now give me a studio setup anytime. Yeah, and I love painting still life. Although I'm about to start making forays into portraiture. So in December, I've signed up for a workshop with a fantastic painter called Anastasia Pollard, who is teaching a workshop nearby. And in Stroud at Raw Umber, you know, anybody know Raw Umber? They do online stuff as well. So I'm going to go and learn some portraiture with Anastasia, just to kind of get me started. And, you know, she's a really well-known and well-respected portrait painter, so it's going to be great to get some input from someone who knows it really well. So probably sometime in the next 2 or 3 months, some portraits will begin appearing as well. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting her. It's going to be fun. Okay. Thank you very much for coming, everybody. I need to stop and have a break, partly because my back is aching because I've been standing here painting for about 4 hours. And also, I just have this thing where I know when I've pushed a painting a certain amount along, and I kind of think I need to sit down and look at it for a while before I start making some mistakes and decide what I'm going to do with it. So listen, thank you very much, everybody, for coming along. I hope I've managed to explain some of the reasons why the painting looks so different from the reference photo, although it's very obviously based on it. Basically, at the moment, I'm going live every Wednesday about this time, like 4 o'clock UK time, ish. And maybe some other ones. I'm starting to stream a little bit more, and I'm really enjoying it again. So I may be doing a few more. It's lovely to see you all. Thanks for coming and thanks for chatting. I very much enjoyed it, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now.